a song for my land. I want everybody, get up out your seats. Put your hands in the air like this. Help me sing. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? So no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No. Warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of the children. Can you tell me when will it end? Sing! How many more jobs must carry this load? Oh, yeah. How many more jobs before we trot down Zion Road? Sing wayo, come on, let me see those hands. Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a helping hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, yeah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution? Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots with too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. Oh, yeah, how can your children cope? Sing! How many more jobs must carry this load? How many more jobs before we trot down Zion Road? Let me see those hands. Let me see the hands. If you care about our children, get up, let me see you. We can't go on each day, no. We got to find a better way. People, it's up to each of you to help our children through this cruel and torrid life, 'cause it's we who created the strife. Say, how many more times must carry this load? How many more times before we drive down Zion Road? Oh, how many more? How many more? How many more now? Hey, how many more? How many more? Oh, yeah. Won't you hear my? Get up, let me see ya. We can't go on each day, no. We got to find a better way. People, it's up to each of you to help our children through this cruel and torrid life, 'cause it's we How many more? How many more? How many more? Hey, how many more? How many more? Oh, dear. Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bended knees. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? I said I rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying, another mother shedding her tears. Oh dear, how many more? How many more? How many more? How many more? How many more?
John King out of Barbados. How many more? It's become the anthem that we invoke so often. How many more? Decades before John King did that calypso in 1996. 2 decades before, Bob Marley sang Johnny Was. Johnny was a good man. Johnny was a good man. Johnny was shot down. Woman hold her head and cry, for her son has been shot down on the street and die, all because of the system. 1973, Catch a Fire album. 1996, John King. How many more? How many more? That was the cry from the Middle Passage. How many more? That was the cry on the slave plantation. How many more? That was the cry after emancipation. How many more? That was the cry from the indenture lodges and the plantation where our sisters and brothers were brought after emancipation. How many more? That has been the cry after independence. How many more? How many more? How many more? Please share the link. We come tonight. We come tonight. Mourning the loss of 2 brothers from Linden. One shot yesterday. And as his people protest today, another one shot down on the streets like dogs. Like dogs. How many more? How many more? How many more? How many more? We condemn, we cry, we wail. It never stops. It doesn't stop. This government asks us to produce the evidence. This government tells us how many bridges they're building and how wonderful, how much material things they're giving to us. We have never had it before like this. They say we are dressing in Guyana better than in those in America. It's a sign of progress. But in the midst of all that material things, those material things, black men, black young men are shot down on the streets, in the streets like dogs. The bones of Quindon Bacchus and Orrin Boston and Peter Headley have not become dust yet. The bones of Boyer and the other two brothers killed as they protested in Linden in 2012 have not yet turned to dust. And two more young black men, 13 years later, murdered in Linden, murdered in Guyana. How many more? How many more? When will it stop? I read the column written by Dr. Jeffrey this past weekend. In the Village Voice. And Dr. Jeffrey was discussing autocracy and democracy and the blurring of the lines between democracy and autocracy. And he was making that point that the material things that governments like the Guyanese government are using, that is blurring the autocratic governance that is taking over, has taken over. His column is called Initiating Democratic Governance in Guyana. He says today, under the rubric of economic growth, autocratic regimes worldwide, in Africa, America, Guyana, and Asia, are attempting to hypnotize their population with material incentives as they systematically remove the human desire and right to democratic self-government. Even when quite well-meaning people speak in favor of democracy, they emphasize its relationship to material outcomes rather than what it really is, namely the expression of human freedom in the social setting. I want you all to digest that paragraph. I want you all to digest it. Because so many of us fall for that talk about development. Look, development in Guyana. And we measure our progress in Guyana by that so-called development and ignore the absence of the human quest for freedom. Freedom not to be shot down by the police, even if you're wanted for an offense. Freedom not to be shot down by the police as you protest. That's the human freedom. This morning I watched the president as he asked that we do not politicize what happened in Linden. That the police is going to investigate the shooting of the young man yesterday. Hours later, The very police has shot dead another young man protesting. The president only this morning saying not to politicize. Dr. Henry Jeffries here. He did not know as he was writing that column, unless he's an Obeah man, and I don't know that he has those powers. He could not know that the prophetic spirit behind that column is going to play itself out in a matter of hours. You all know how I feel as a black man, how I feel about what is being done and what has been done to black people in Guyana and other parts of the world, and I'm restraining myself tonight. Because Dr. Jeffrey was invited to this program not knowing what was going to happen in Linden. Henry?
David, thank you again for having me and to your audience.
Talk, and you know, I like to get, we all write. We write books, we write columns, we write articles, we write, and you have to make that decision as, what am I going to write on this week? And something has to trigger something to get you to say, hey, I'm going to write on this relationship between material things and democracy / autocracy. What drove you to write that column this past weekend?
David, well, I mentioned two people in the column, persons in the column.
Yes.
Two people on different sides, I would say, of the fence.
Yes.
But they were both emphasizing more or less the same thing as being the important thing. If I am bequeathed a certain amount of money as the PPP has been, it means I can spend and do, I can make 100 concussion drives, if you like. But the point is that the reason for doing so, and in doing so, what you spend the money on mustn't be your decision alone. That every day you go and spend, a government go and spend $1, a cent from the money we got from oil, is an expression of our interest. They can't say to us, somebody vote for us. Democracy don't only mean majority right, be it by a small or large one. It means minority rights. The minority rights also to determine what happens in a country. If you have in a sense, I'm wasting time here, because what we have is an autocratic government who has and autocratic governments these days capture the state. It's not, I did not say that. It was said by Transparency International that the PPP government is an autocratic government that captures the state and doing it and its friends doing precisely what they want with it. That was also part of my reason to deal with this matter, because effectively people are not seeing that what they're doing is corrupting the entire public sphere. For instance, if a policeman, by the looks of things and what we have seen, if you are police and you join the police force to get ahead, you think that you must be with the PPP. I was told that now almost by a young policeman give a drive one day. When I told this boy, I gave him a lift and thing and so, and I said, yeah, I was a minister in the government. He said, you must be rich. I said, no, I'm not rich. He said, I joined the PPP too. So by which time we were turning in he said, I'm a PPP too. By which time we were stopping to put him off. And I said, what does that mean? You want to be rich? So why not? Now, what has happened in Guyana? To get ahead, you got to show the PPP that you are with them. And to show the PPP you are with them, you have to do things extraordinarily like what the police are doing. Some police are doing, not all of them, may or no mind. So by now, you would have caught the attention of those who would say, we need people to stand by us regardless. And we have seen this recently, that it's the people that have been standing by the PPP regardless that have been getting the promotions and everything else. So when these things happen, it's just a matter of ricocheting from the nature of the society that we live in. And furthermore, it's an ethnic autocracy. It is not, as you said, you're saying you want to be quiet, but as in a sense, you have to realize this is an ethnic government that is doing this. But for the other side to really get up, they got to do all manners of nonsense. And the more they can show off that they are with the PPP, they are hoping that they will get ahead. It would not surprise me to see in a couple of years, if the PPP is still around to be in government, that you hear this, those people involved are promoted and all manner of things. So, David, that is where we are at. We have to don't bother too much about the materialism that is given us. We must demand our freedom to even determine what that materialism is spent on. You don't even talk to the opposition. You're not talking to them but you ain't got no right to say you're not talking. The Constitution say you should do so. But guess what? And I sometimes want to know, indeed, I saw the same Lincoln Lewis did write this bit. He says, but anytime they want, they're in dire straits, like with Venezuela, they call you. They come, that will be tough. But you're not talking about my people that are being shot. You're not talking about my people that don't have jobs. You don't want to talk. These are my constituents, largely so. You are not talking about these things. Venezuela, and then you want to talk to me. And then what I do, I run and talk to you because of Venezuela. I have conditionalities for anything. I must have conditionals. After all, I'm not here because of me. I have constituents that are badly treated in Guyana. And I can't just go and decide to talk about no border. Yes, Venezuela, what they're doing is terrible. But you want me to be part of it, to send my constituents, given the demographics, to get killed. Because if the Venezuelan cross, most of the people in the army are African. They go ahead and get killed. You want me to send my constituents. When you're telling me you cannot talk to me about the right to be part of the process of governance in Guyana. Think about that. Think about the lunacy of it all. And that is what these things hang together. They think road, more salary that you can buy. They're not even giving the Africans the salary. As I said before, in 2004, these public servants, teachers who get 3.4% of GDP. They're not even getting a good 1%. No. Right, the oil and all that, but even if you do it the other way around. So these things got to be taken in hand, and the border is important, but the border is not more important than my people you want to send to get killed. It's they vote for me. You must have some straight issues that we must sort out before I can even sit with you to talk about any border. I would talk to you about border when I can talk about what my people's right in the context of the border. But they do that. They come to you and they do the next day, they shut you down. Then next day you get shot in Linden, and there's this, and me and you're gonna make this nice, and it's hopefully gonna go away and all of that. But it's not acceptable. Here you're gonna tell yourself, one day I might win government. Well, if you don't win government, wow, but this continues forever. This continues forever. You can't even get the people who are calling you to talk to follow the advice of almost every person that been to an election in this country. They list bad. You got to change it. You got the Caribbean people. Where are they? By no time you should go in front of CARICOM and after that start making noise. Where are these CARICOM people who've been saying you should go to Atlanta, mobilize people to go to Atlanta and make noise? Even if it's 3 people, where's the Carter Center? Where is it? The truth is that I don't know. This whole thing has to change. The governance structure has to change, or else nothing will change. That's it. These people are dying, as you said, and as the singer was saying all the time. They've been dying for years, right? Whether or not it's 1,400 or only 500 or 400, people are dying because of this system. And the wish of human beings to be free. Because there will always be, you might catch some people who are going to think and, oh, give me a car, give me a this, give me some money thing. But even they, in their minds, know what they're doing. But you're going to always have some Kwayanas in this world who wants to be free. Always. And express the wishes of the vast majority, even those who are being hobnobbing with the thing. They want to be free and they know what they're doing. So,
Jeffrey, and you're on spot. You're on spot. You have laid everything in perspective. We are in an election year. The PPP wants to win election. The PPP is in control of the state, the government. The opposition has been saying you are not doing right by African Guyanese. You mentioned Kwayana just now. He, at 100 years old, sounds as if he just entered politics in 1945 because he's literally saying the same thing, talking about human freedom. The president this morning, as I said, when I first got wind, when I turned on my TV and I saw Mark Benchop broadcasting protests in Linden. And then the president told the press that, look, he's going to investigate the shooting and so on. And then hours later, protests they shot. You are in government. What does the president... Somebody shot in Linden. This obviously is embarrassing for the PPP. What does the president tell the commissioner of police, who then tells the commander, who then tells his force there? Are they telling them, those people out there who are protesting, shoot them down? Help me understand, if you get my question, because help me understand what's happening here. Help us understand.
What if you are ambitious in the context of Guyana's police force?
Yeah.
The president don't have to tell you anything.
Uh-huh.
What the president gonna tell you? Don't make anything gets out of hand. The minute you stop it in the bud, whatsoever, you got to, that is it. That is essentially what it is. And because if it gets out of hand, it can ricochet to this place, it can ricochet to that place, it can start. So don't let it get out of hand.
In effect, what you're saying, shoot.
Do what you gotta do. Nobody gotta tell you what to do. The point is that you don't have to shoot, maybe not to get it out of hand. But the man that is strong and think that he wants to be up front and be seen because he sees his future, he shoots. He shoots. He did it. He's for us. He thinks. And that is what we have been seeing with all kind of talk about promotions and all those other things. That is what we have been seeing. So the president don't have to tell nobody. The president, the hierarchy and the force as it is now, know that it mustn't get out of hand. Because Lyndon can be a little powder keg. So they know that. So that's what it's simple. It's the ordinary man on the ground that can read this in a lot of ways differently.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He can read it. He's not, indeed, he's not looking at an opportunity to close it down. They're very ambitious. He's not looking for an opportunity to close this down without anything. He's looking for a time to establish himself as a true believer. And you have this. And you'll always have it once you have this sort of context. Once you don't have a democratic context in which governments can change and will change, and you have a proper commissions that deal with police and proper rules and regulations and so on, it's going to always happen. The government going to stay with the autocratic regime. Some people will want to make the mark with the autocratic regime and apparently get rich and get whatsoever they want.
We get back to the material things. Because tomorrow, the PPP leaders are going to talk about all the material things that they've given Guyana and so on in response to what's happening there. How does the opposition deal with this? Because the leader of the opposition has been careful not to initiate any street protests. He has come under severe criticism from a lot of his own supporters for refusing to organize any massive protests, as he says, for fear that the PP people infiltrate the protests and so on and so forth. How does the opposition deal with the fact that here is a young man being shot? Clearly, he was unarmed from everything that we've seen. No political party was there, so far as we know, to tell the people to come out on the streets. They came out on the streets. They're now shut down. How does the opposition approach this situation, given the fact that the leader of the opposition, and by extension, the rest of us who call ourselves opposition, we have stayed off the street. We have been very careful not to have this kind of situation. Well, how do we deal with this now? Talk to me.
Well, it's how you there are two ways of doing this, of course, at least two. What the opposition seem to be saying, we're going to proceed as it is now. We're going to proceed with business as usual. All right, they've got shot. All right, let's go, and we need an open investigation of the shooting, and then whatever the results, compensation, and whatsoever, that will be it. Because all they're saying, this is they're treating it as normal. that this happened as a result of protest. Like if it's any protest, and like if this is not a continuous thing that has been, they keep saying it's a continuous thing, but they're not responding like it's a continuous thing. The opposition has to be much more strong in relation to confronting not this only this incident, but the nature of government in Guyana. Now they say this is only one time, it's gonna happen again, maybe not tomorrow, but the next day. But you got to be much more strong in confronting the issue of how shall we be governed in this land? It's not you can get a whole lot of oil money, tell me you're not talking to me when I'm the official of opposition, and then go on spending it anyway, then go try and bribe the whole country to do that. And it's just not there. Therefore, the opposition, I am not here to, the opposition must by now have worked something out in their own mind. I think part of the opposition, at least, believe that if you have an election, they can win. Because, and they will say, look at the census, the PPN showing you the census. Even with the present situation, some believe so, that they can win because even the census, but PPP don't give you census. Remember the last time before, we haven't got census for a long time because PPP don't want you to see the real numbers on the ground. They don't want you to see the real numbers on the ground. And so the opposition has that option of saying, all right, I think I mentioned that in my paper, that some of them go along like if everything is all right. But then you still have to, well, if you think you're going to win that way, fine. But what I'm saying, you still have to have a backup plan. And that's what I was telling you just now. The opposition don't seem even to stand up and go have a meeting if carry some couple people in front of CARICOM, carry them in front of the EU, go to the Carter Center, ask the Carter Center what they're doing about this present election in Guyana. Go get some people, go. Let them tell you they're not talking to you because they're the ones that have been here making a whole lot of noise. And therefore, there's a lot that they can do to be even more forceful without, at this stage, going to the streets. But at the end of the day, you know what democratic theory tell you? You got to keep your powder dry. That's the only way to stop bad government. You got to keep your powder dry up, prepared to fight a war. If you don't know that, you're not going to go. But if you believe, and you might well have reason to believe that things can work out differently, great. That is preferable. But you must always keep your powder dry. That's all I am prepared to say at this stage.
Dr. Jeffrey, let us backpedal a couple of hours. We saw over the weekend the GRA and later on the police went to the Mohammeds and attempted to possess their cars. And we saw a crowd of mostly African Guyanese there with the Mohammeds, and they literally repelled the forces who came. I have gotten so many emotions around that, from those who say, you know, the government is wrong to the Mohammeds, to those who bemoan the fact that there were African Guyanese literally defending the Mohammeds. Later on, they were swimming in the pool, and people were telling me about those images. as a political scientist, and as I myself as a political scientist, we have to bring all these factors together to try to explain what is it we're seeing in front of our faces. Um, Talk to us about that whole scenario there this weekend, and the collision of the various factors.
Well, David, let's start with the Mohammeds themselves.
Mm-hmm.
These are Guyanese people, they are our people, they've been doing business and whatever. But they run afoul of the United States of America. We weren't hearing that they were crooks and bandits, but certainly the American says, after doing a whole lot of investigation, says that these people are doing illegal thing in this state, and they have made certain they have, as a result, ban them, remove their passport, they can't move their visas and that kind of a thing. It is for the state of Guyana, indeed, not to wait to like what happened with Roger Khan, because the state was so unwilling to deal with Roger Khan. They wait till Roger Khan went to Suriname, and when he go to Trinidad, pick him up. It is for the state of Guyana to try to follow up on the issues that these people, the Americans, spoke about. The Guyana state was in a lot of trouble with the last regime for all manner of things, which the minute the other side lose, you see them put up placards, big boards saying, oh, welcome Trump, and all that other thing. Maybe forgetting that but there are certain levels of bipartisanship in that Congress that is not easily broken. Maybe Trump will break them because you never know. But there are such things. And so the result is that we have to, the way we go about the business, the way we are, ask me that question again.
The Mohammeds and
yeah,
the GRA. Yes.
Yeah, no. Because I wanted to go somewhere else, but I said I would be wasting time. I see the time down there. The Mohammeds now are thought to be involved in illegal business. The state got to go after them. And the PPP has to go after them if they believe, if they want the heirs of the Trump administration. They have to, because they had a long time to go and get cars and things if they wanted to. And now suddenly they are doing that. It is not because the PPP fear that the Mohammed, from my standpoint, that the Mohammeds would take votes from them. It is because the PPP needs to show the Americans that they are actually acting on what they have said. And so they're acting it out. If they want to be friends with the American, they have to do it. But here, you can kill two birds with one stone. And I'm telling this my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You can kill two birds with one stone because you got to go after the Mohammeds. What's wrong with the PPP does what it always do. Essentially, by allowing this notion that the Mohammeds are going to take vote from the PPP. Yet we are not seeing any, as you said, we're not seeing any votes from the PPP when Mohammed go anywhere in any sensible way. We are seated the PPP and CCAM. And it's those marginal votes that would affect, those marginal votes can affect the outcome of the election. So I would not put it beyond and remember they print something in the newspaper not so long ago about Bank of Guyana money changing from Mohammed thing up to December last year when this thing was happening way back. So I would not put it beyond the PPP to say, well, we killed two birds with one stone. Essentially, we can do, we have to do this to the Mohammeds, but at the same time, the Mohammeds can draw some of the PNC's vote and make it impossible for them to win. So you kill two birds with one stone. I can, if even if I'm wrong, I would have proceeded in that way because I got nothing to lose by proceeding in that way. So that is my position. My position. I want to say something different just now. Not something different, but something more. But I've been watching the time and so. Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about the tariffs and the imposition of 38% tariffs on Guyana. The Secretary of State just left here a couple of days before the tariffs. The country in CARICOM that is genuflecting most to the Americans is the one that got the highest tariffs. The PPP acted, certainly the vice president acted as though they were taken by surprise. I don't know whether they expect that the government wasn't going to impose tariffs of them. Talk to us about the politics of all of this, because there's the economics of it. But I want you to talk to us here tonight about the politics of these tariffs, especially as they relate to a place like Guyana.
What the Trump administration claims it wants to do is that it wants to, as much as possible, get rid of its trade balance with the with the world. What it has done essentially is look to all those ways you can cheat in terms of international trade, tariffs, non-tariff barrier, phytosanitary rules, and so on, monetary manipulation. And then it decides when it goes, at the end of the day, when it goes to calculate, it makes a very weird calculation. I think here that what it did effectively is to divide the its deficit by the amount of imports that it received, and the result, it says, it placed on that paper and said it's 38%. But it's not. Take, for instance, China. When they finish doing this mathematics that some people are saying is bad mathematics, when they finish doing it, China turns out about 67%, but then China end up with 34%. So he divided whatsoever he got as that result, he divided by half, and then that's what you have. Guyana, small country, but oil put us up there at about, we have a trade with US about 5.5 billion, and then oil must be about 4 point something billion, and they're not taxing that. So effectively, what he's saying, even with that small amount, maybe 1.2 billion, your thing must be about 76, and the result, you have the 30 what percent, that is what you need to pay. Of course, a whole lot of other things come in there. For instance, he doesn't include, in all this calculation, he doesn't include things like services, education, and all the business relationship. Doesn't include them. And in these things, the US has a surplus with the other countries. More than that, US has a surplus with Britain, period, overall. But yet, they get a 10% tax. So there are those who are saying essentially this thing, is more likely to cause a slowdown of international trade. If that happens, oil prices will drop. As you see, it is already dropping. Guyana and countries like Guyana will suffer. It doesn't matter for we have fisheries and places like banks and so banks, DIH, and those who export these things. But these are really small. They are small in the country as a whole, but for the individual companies, they are very important. The people that is working there. Trump and people have been saying that open to negotiations, and the notion in terms of the Guyana, well, at least in terms of Guyana, is that you can go now and demonstrate that how we get land and maybe look that bad is because we have all this oil and so on that is coming from Guyana, and the result might be a reduction in the tariffs. So, but what might hit us far more than just the tariffs, because I said what might hit us far more than the tariffs is the slowdown of international trade that's going to affect the oil prices and all of that kind of a thing. I think that the government should, as it says, will make a case, and that's what it has to be at this point of time. I can't see it's anything else.
Sorry, I
No
didn't
problem.
realize I was off camera. Given the way in which the Guyana government has kowtowed to the Trump administration, um, uh, do you have confidence that they are going to, in their talks with the U.S. on the tariffs, that they are going to do so in a real objective manner, or are they likely to be colored, to be clouded by the fact that they're depending on the Trump administration to help to maintain them in power?
They are depending on the Trump administration to maintain the PPP in power.
Yes.
Well, and so you are saying that they're going to give away more concessions than they possibly need.
They may not be as aggressive in trying
Yes, they
to
will not be
reduce
as
the tariff.
aggressive. Well, we have to, but obviously, the PPP wants to stay in power. The other Biden government almost tell them by the end of the term, they got to make a different form of governance. Rubio must have been part of that. He was part of the own foreign policy establishment from the Republican side, yes, but as I said, these are bipartisan groups. So yes, the opposition again should make it quite clear that the people. Well, I heard Darby saying, "Oh, they need a comprehensive thing," and nothing. But it's not. They need a comprehensive thing. That's not the issue alone. The issue is, if we are going to talk about this in a sensible way, we must talk about everything. Not only that, but effectively, if we're going to have effective policy that we can support even during election period, it means that we got to sit at the table. We got to be part of the decision-making process. You can't just say the government must do this and the government must do that. The government is for all of us. The government won by one seat majority a few a few votes, not even a whole seat. So the result is that is not, that we got parliament. Parliament is also there to defend the right of the minority. That's what it's there to do too. So that is how this has to do. We must sit at the table. We must insist. If they want to do it alone, then autocratic regime, let them go do it alone.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here. Dr. Jeffrey, thank you for joining us again this evening. A very hectic day, a very painful day, certainly for the people of Linden, African Guyanese, the opposition, and Guyanese in general. I suspect I may have to call upon you even before your 2 week 2 weeks is up, given the way in which things are galloping here in Guyana. So I please stand by. But thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you and your audience again, David.
Dr. Henry Jeffrey here, as I said, on a painful day, a very painful day. Another day, another day, another day, another painful day in our Guyana. I know you have to go because there are other platforms that are covering these events that are unfolding before our very eyes. I just want to leave by saying tonight, we told you all, this is not going to end nice. This election that is coming up is not just a mere election. And the PPP is going to use every ounce of force at its disposal in order to get its way. We are in the midst of something big in our country. I'm gone, but I'll come back tomorrow night, and we are going to be peeling this onion, the skin of the onion. Good night. Good night to the people of Linden. Stay strong. Stay strong. Stay strong.